Now to the exciting part. In this instructional video, we'll go over the ways to translate the infinitive. One of the easiest ways to translate the infinitive, if context allows for it, is to translate it substantively as if it functions as a noun. And usually we get a good signal that a substantive use is how to translate the infinitive if the neuter singular definite article is used. The neuter singular definite article is used. So here, ta esthien. Esthien means to eat. And then this ta here, this article tells you, hey, treat this infinitive as if it's a noun. That because definite articles modify nouns. So the ta, this neuter singular definite article signals to the reader that you are going to try to treat this infinitive as if it's a noun. So you can translate it one of two ways. So you can say to eat estin agathon is good. Or you can simply translate this as eating is good. Either translation works. And this is a way to translate the infinitive as if it's a noun. Another easy way to spot the use of the infinitive is oftentimes infinitives are complementary. That means they're attached to the main verb. So the most common, and this is not exhaustive, but here are the most frequently used ones. We have day, which means it is necessary to. So this is all new vocabulary. You're going to be learning this as part of your Mounts vocabulary this week. Existen, which it means it is lawful. Mello, which means I'm about to. Dunamai, you've learned this already. I am able to. And in previous homework exercises, whenever dunamai was used, the infinitive was translated for you. But now that you've learned the infinitive form, you don't need that extra help in your homework. And then archomai, you've seen the noun form of this. You've seen arche, and as a noun that means beginning or ruler, depending on the context, beginning. But here is the verbal form, archomai, I am beginning to. And let's look at some examples of how we should translate this. And so here, de aute esthien. This is from the last instructional video, where aute, as if it's the accusative absolute. So it is necessary. I'm going to use the conjunction that relative conjunction. It is necessary that, and then attain is not the direct object, because I don't want to say that it's necessary that I eat her, or it's necessary to eat her. I want to say that it's necessary that she eats, or she is eating, since it's a present infinitive. How about existen auto baptisthai? When you use the verb existen, which is a compound verb, it's a combination of ami. Do you see that estin there? And this preposition ex, and combined, it actually means something more than the individual meanings of the preposition and ami. It means it is lawful to. Notice that it wants to use the dative as a direct object. So for whatever reasons, it uses the dative as a direct object. So it is necessary, and then we have this. Then we have a passive, aorist passive infinitive, baptisthenai. So the way I'm going to translate this is it is lawful that he is baptized. Another translation which happens to work is if you translate the auto datively, it is lawful for him to be baptized. The next sentence, mele autois keruxai, mele autois keruxai. This is he. Now notice that it's not melo, all right? So it's third person. So he, she is about to keruxai, preach to them, autois, dunatai. Third person singular. So he, she is able to, and so zesthai thigh. So this thigh, well, it could be middle, or it could be passive. Both are possible, but I'm going to translate this passively. So he, she is able to be saved. And then the last one, archetype prosuxamai. He, she is beginning to pray. And because prosukamai is a deponent verb, that's why it's in the middle voice, but it has an active translation. So he, she is beginning to pray. And the last big category of how to translate the infinitive is the syntax construction, where you have an articular, that means an infinitive with an article in front of it, plus the preposition. The way this is going to look is you're going to have the preposition actually first, plus the article, and plus the infinitive. And the article is going to be some sort of neuter article, where it treats the infinitive as if it's a noun. So it's a preposition attached to an infinitive that acts like a noun. But the translation overall is going to turn into a clause. So the translation is best translated as a clause. And I'll go over some examples right now, and you'll quickly understand how this works. On the left here are the prepositions that are listed out that can be combined with the infinitive. And so what happens when we have dia plus ta plus an infinitive? How do you translate this? Together, you're going to translate it as because. So let's look at this example. Ha Jesus, Jesus, har resitai, will forgive. So Jesus will forgive. And then you have this dia ta blepain. And we know that dia ta plus infinitive means because. So I'm going to translate this as Jesus will forgive because dia ta means because. And then auton here is the accusative absolute of blepain. So I'm going to, because he sees or is seeing. Let's make it continuous because it's a present infinitive, a present infinitive. So he is seeing, and what is he seeing? Your salvation. So a couple translation notes. You have auton as an accusative. You have soterion as an accusative. Two accusatives. That means in an infinitive phrase, one of them has to be the subject, one of them has to be the direct object. So I'm going to choose he as the subject, salvation as the object. So Jesus will forgive because he is seeing your salvation. Eis ta is translated as in order that. So I'm almost using the same phrase, but I made some adjustments. So Jesus dies in order that auton, he, blepain, is seeing your salvation. Eis to, translated as when or while. So how would you translate this? So Jesus, I'm going to use, go back to the word forgive, will forgive, en to blepain. So Jesus will forgive, en to, when he sees your salvation. What about meta? It means after. So Jesus will forgive after he sees your salvation. Pro 2, Jesus dies before he sees your salvation. I used apatheneske here instead of haresitai. Prosta, in order that. So here we have two ways to do in order that. Eis ta or prosta. Jesus dies in order that he sees your salvation. And haste, which translated with the result that. Jesus dies haste blepen, with the result that he sees your salvation. Let me clean this up here. Okay, I filled out the translation more neatly so that you can see how the preposition plus the infinitive is translated together. So dia ta plus infinitive again means because. A's ta plus infinitive means in order that. Ento plus infinitive means when or while. Meta plus infinitive means after. Pro to plus infinitive means before. Pros ta plus infinitive also means in order that. So you have two that mean the same thing. And then hoste plus infinitive means with the result that. The translations are here. Please go ahead and pause the slide so that you can look at over the translations and see how the Greek is translated into English. And when you're done, go on to the next instructional video. We'll start the next video on the imperatives.